Hello, everyone. And Jax is here to help me present this. Hi, Jax. Can you say hello to everybody? Thank you. Every obstacle is an excuse. It's not a reason. It's an excuse. What I was talking about on my prior video, or my past couple of videos rather, is that in order to get to your success place, you have to define where X marks the spot. You start with A. X is your designated destination for success. And I went into great depth about my thoughts about that in the last couple of videos. But today, I wrote out my thoughts about how to get there. And this is based on the people that I've worked with that were amazing at achieving success. They hit all their goals. And when they got there, they went beyond it. And they maintained it. I'm not talking about a CEO of a big company. I'm talking about a person like you and me, just an employee working for a company who achieved unlimited success. And you ask yourself, how do they do that? I sit here and slave every single day. I don't get that kind of success. Right. So here's the formula. The people I worked with that hit the absolute top of their game were naturally driven. But what is the driver? What is their motivator? Because they made it. They made it to their designated success spot. Every single one of us has a sweet spot. Working in corporate America made me realize I was nowhere near my X spot. I was still back at A. Is there anything below A? I don't know. It felt like there was. That's where I was. I didn't make it to X in my job, but I watched people who did, and I worked for people who did. And it is amazing to see what they do to get there. The people that I saw get to X, one of them was very hardworking. They answered every phone call. They made a point of calling everyone back within 6 hours. And that was hard to do. They would get 100 phone calls an hour. And I'm not kidding you. I know, because I answered the phone and took the messages. They didn't leave the office until an hour to two after closing every day. They always stayed late. They came in early. They were always on time. They never called out sick. They worked weekends. They did whatever it took to get to X. The other one that I know of, they had more things fed to them through the powers that be, but I don't want to downplay their success by that. I don't want to say, well, they're not successful because it was hand-fed to them. But I do want to make that clear because a lot of times it's not fair. It's not fair to see somebody get to their goal and their finish line when you've worked so hard and you barely reach it, but yet somebody else just goes right by it. Like say if you train for a marathon and you've trained and you put the work in every single day and you eat right and you've stayed on track with your goals, the day the marathon comes and you know you're going to win it and you're out there and you're running as fast as you possibly can and you're just about to win and somebody comes right up behind you and goes right by you and they get there first. It's crushing. It's soul crushing because you worked so hard for that. Therefore, it is important to point these two people out because they're so different in how they got their success. The managers at the company I worked for, at first, the person I worked directly under when I was his assistant, he was a go-getter. I helped him elevate his career and success. I was there to do some paperwork, some marketing, some analytics, and I did all that for him. This other person, she had not worked there nearly as long as him. In fact, she worked there for just a little longer than I did before they promoted her. When they promoted her, she got favoritism by the upper management, where the guy I worked for did not. They started pushing clients her way. As I did marketing for him, they told me to stop because they didn't want me driving business to him. They wanted to drive all the business to her. And then once she got successful, they openly praised her throughout the whole company, saying how wonderful she is. Look how smart she is. Look how successful she is. While turning on him. That is the truth behind corporate America, folks. Okay, I've lived it. I've worked it. I've burnt out by it. I succumbed to the tragic nature of the culture of it. But in that truth comes this formula for how people become successful. Even though these two individuals had the same outcome, they had the same X marks the spot, okay? One got there through hard work. He was naturally driven. His motivator was to feed his family. The other person I speak of, so what was her motivator? Well, unfortunately, as her successes grew, the management at this company, I think they tried to favor the underdogs. While doing that, they kicked the guy down who was actually a hard worker and making money for the company. She was proving herself to be the best version of herself she could be. I have a problem with one aspect of that. It is okay to prove yourself. It is okay to get out there in the world and show people, because I'm a firm believer in showing people what you can do. Don't just talk about it, but show them, right? But when you're doing that, try not to stomp on somebody on the way up. You're walking up a ladder. Don't kick the guy behind you. You see what I'm saying? See the difference there? And that's what she did. She kicked everybody else down the rungs. But they had already gotten to the top. So that was pretty messed up. If you have to kick somebody down in order to be successful yourself, and I know a lot of people do it, but it doesn't make it right. It does not make it right. When somebody else is naturally just surviving and just doing their best every day, the second thing most people do when they reach success is they meet goals and they cage their obstacles. In one of my prior videos, I spoke about a swimmer. I saw her in a movie, and she stood on the shore and she looked across the ocean and she saw this point. She wanted to swim all the way over here someday, and she wanted to be the first person to do it. It took her many attempts. It took her try after try. She almost died doing it. She had a natural drive. She was motivated, and she met her goals. And one way she did that was she caged her obstacles. When she was out there in the open ocean, she had sharks to battle. She had jellyfish to battle. And every attempt, she had a different way of caging those obstacles. She didn't look across that ocean and go, I'm never going to make it over there because there's these things in the way. And that's where everybody seems to stop short of making their success, including me. And I'll tell you why. Because if you look at everything like an obstacle, then you're not looking to reach the goal. You're looking to make an excuse why you can't do it. She reached her goal because she focused on the results. She focused on where she wanted to be. She focused on that X way out there across the ocean. She saw the sharks. She saw the shark fins coming out. And she was like, move on, shark, because I have a place to go. And she designated that X as her sweet spot. I'm going to get there, with or without any of you. Even if I have to go alone, I'm getting there, because that's what I'm destined to do. And that's exactly what she did. She had people come help her. She had people stop helping her. But the one thing she looked over that ocean to that X marks the spot, and she said, that's the result I want. And everything else needs to go away. Well, you can't make a shark go away out of the water. You can't make a jellyfish go away out of the water. So what did she do? She caged them. She had people come in. She had teams of people. And they made these special radar devices where the sound actually made the sharks go away. For the jellyfish, they made her a suit, a special suit where the jellyfish tentacles couldn't sting her because she almost died on a prior voyage out. The story is amazing, but what it shows here is right to my point. You can't achieve the success you want without looking towards the result. There are many people who want to achieve success and they get stuck. They don't know how to move on. This is one way to get there. You have to cage your obstacles. If you're trying to get to the finish line and you're trying to make it to your ex, you have to look at obstacles as opportunities. You can't look at the obstacles and say, well, can't do it. Too many problems in my way. You can't start from A and look over to X and go, there's a whole forest of trees. Have you ever seen a house built in a remote location back up in the woods somewhere? And you just look at that in awe and go, wow, how it's just beautiful. It's right there in a remote location. How did they ever get up there? Because those are the folks that started here at A, where we all start. They looked at that piece of land as their designated success story. And they said, oh, well, in order to get there, what do we have to do? And they set forth. They look at the trees and say, this is a dangerous journey. However, we're going to bring hard hats. We're going to bring equipment. We're going to bring chainsaws. They don't look at the trees and go, well, trees have termites and ants and other things. We can't cut those down. They bring bug spray and they proceed. Then they come to one with a squirrel nest or a bird nest. Well, we have to save the planet. We can't just cut it down. There's an animal living in it. We don't want to wreck their house to try to build ours. So they go around it. They leave it. Well, it's not going to thwart their plans. They're at A and they've made it to M. They've made it halfway. They see this tree with some nests in it and they say that can stay here because it's beautiful and it contains wildlife. And we want that. That's why we're moving into the woods. So they divert a different road and they go down that road. And now they're cutting down those trees. Finally, they make it to where they want to build. They assess the situation. Well, you can't build here after all. We just went 5 miles into the woods. You can't build here because there's waterfalls right there. What do? We can't pollute the waterfalls. So let's do this. And they go over here. Instead of being smack dab in the middle of where they saw their ex, they went to the right. They said, we will build here to preserve the waterfalls for the natural beauty so that we don't pollute them. And we will put our drainage system going down this way. So it won't interfere with the wildlife and it won't interfere with the beautiful natural waterfall. And they achieve their goal. They don't stop at the tree with the nest and give up. They don't stop with the waterfall and give up. They cage those obstacles. They cage the obstacles and they go around them and they protect them. I've had so many people talk to me about their life goals. I've had people say to me, well, I want to do this, but there's a lot of negativity about it. And I just can't. I'm not built that way. I can't overcome the negativity. I've seen people who get caught up in negative projections at them. Sometimes we know going into something and sometimes we don't. which obstacles we're going to face. With the swimmer, she had no idea what was in those waters except for sharks. She knew there were going to be some sharks. She didn't know there was this field of jellyfish. She could prepare for the sharks. It wasn't easy, but she did it. But the jellyfish, they got her. They got her bad. She didn't stop and say, oh, I can't do that. That was painful. No way. I'm not doing that no more. No, She went right back to A. She went back to A and started over. Not just once, not just twice, but many, many, many times until she did it, because she caged those jellyfish. Just like a news anchor that's trying to tell people things that they need to know in the world. But again, what are they doing? They're not taking that negativity and saying, oh, well, I can't do this anymore. It's too negative and it's affecting me and I'm not going to do this anymore because I'm scared. No, they don't back down, because their ultimate goal is what's ahead of them, what's forward thinking. Their ultimate goal is results, which they can't get if they back down and walk backwards. But it's not okay to let your progress affect you in a negative way. In the case of a news anchor, you look at that as feedback. They look at it like, I have to be able to focus on my results and not focus on the opinions that are before me. They have a story that they have to tell. They can't stop and think, oh, well, what are people going to say about me? They don't think like that. And they continue with their story, regardless of what anybody is saying about them around them. In the news, around the world, they report the story as it is. I just use a journalist because I know they get a lot of negative feedback. So that was just a hypothetical. I used the swimmer because it's an easy way to add visual context to what I'm saying. The swimmer has to box in the sharks, and as she found out later, there's a new obstacle, the jellyfish. She didn't say at that point when she got stung so severely with the jellyfish that she was going to stop. She said, I have to keep going. Even if I don't have anyone to help me, I'm going to do this. What the sharks and jellyfish taught her is that may just be the beginning of the obstacles. That may not even be the hardest part of getting to X. There's always going to be an obstacle. There's always going to be negativity. There's always going to be something that brings you down. But knowing you have the power and you have the control, it's up to you to contain that. Set it aside and keep going. Don't listen to any of the noise. Listen to what's inside you. Listen to your drive. What motivates you? Are you meeting your goals? Why not? What is standing before you that you can't cage? What is it? There's all kinds of opportunities at your feet. Every obstacle is an excuse. It's not a reason. It's an excuse. I'll cover that in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.